July 28, 1986. A bright, warm Monday afternoon in Fulham, West London. The streets are busy, cars pass, shop doors open and close. People walk to lunch, to meetings, to ordinary appointments they expect a return from. At 12:45 p.m., a 25-year-old woman named Suzy Lamplugh writes a short note in her diary. 12:45, Mr. Kipper, 37 Shorrolds Road. It looks completely routine. Just another client. Just another property viewing. She picks up her keys, leaves her purse behind, steps out of her office door. She is never seen alive again. No screams, no struggle, no witnesses calling police. She disappears in broad daylight on a busy London street and leaves behind a mystery that will haunt Britain for decades. Who was Mr. Kipper? And how did a young woman vanish without a trace? Suzy Lamplugh was not a statistic. She was not a headline. And she was not defined by the way her life ended. She was a young woman at the very beginning of her future. Born in 1961, Suzy grew up in a close-knit family and was known from an early age for her confidence, warmth, and independence. Friends described her as outgoing and full of life, someone who could walk into a room and instantly make people feel at ease. By her mid-20s, Suzy had already built a reputation as a dedicated professional. She worked as an estate agent for Sturgis Estate Agents in Fulham, West London, a job that demanded trust, punctuality, and personal safety, especially for a young woman working alone. This was 1986. There were no mobile phones, no GPS, no instant check-ins. Estate agents routinely met strangers in empty houses, often with no one knowing exactly where they were at every moment. Despite this, Suzy was careful. She followed procedures. She logged appointments. She kept records. Colleagues later said she was reliable to a fault. If Suzy said she would be back in an hour, she would be back in an hour. She didn't disappear without explanation. She didn't forget appointments. She didn't take unnecessary risks. Outside of work, Suzy enjoyed a normal, active social life. She had plans, ambitions, a future that extended far beyond that summer afternoon in July. That is what makes her disappearance so deeply unsettling. This was not a vulnerable person drifting through life. This was a capable, intelligent woman doing her job in the middle of the day, in a busy part of London. And yet, despite all of that, Suzy Lamplugh vanished without leaving behind a single clear trace of what happened to her. Her story forced Britain to confront an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes being careful is not enough. By the summer of 1986, Suzy Lamplugh had conducted dozens of property viewings alone. This was routine, and July 28th began as nothing more than another working day. That morning, Suzy arrived at Sturgis Estate Agents in Fulham shortly before opening. She reviewed property files, answered calls, and prepared keys for scheduled viewings. At 12:45 p.m., she opened her diary and recorded a single appointment. 12:45, Mr. Kipper, 37 Shorrolds Road. The entry was brief, no phone number, no additional notes, but that was not unusual. Many clients were known only by name until after a viewing. Before leaving, Suzy placed her purse on her desk. This detail would later become important. She took only her keys and documents, suggesting she expected to return quickly. At approximately 12:40 p.m., colleagues watched her leave the office. She walked toward Fulham Road, heading to the property on foot. At 12:50 p.m., witnesses later told police they saw Suzy standing outside 37 Shorrolds Road. She appeared calm. There were no signs of distress. She was waiting. The property itself had been listed for just 1 week. It was empty. No tenants. No neighbors immediately watching. Around 1 p.m., a man arrived. Witnesses described him as well-dressed, dark-haired and confident. He carried a bottle of champagne, an unusual detail that stood out years later. The two spoke briefly at the front of the house, then they walked away together. They did not enter the property. They did not return. This was the last confirmed sighting of Suzy Lamplugh. By 3:30 p.m., Suzy had not returned to the office. Colleagues became concerned. She had missed check-ins. She had missed calls. Staff went to 37 Shorrolds Road. The house was empty. No keys. No paperwork. No sign she had been there at all. As evening approached, police were notified. At approximately 10 p.m., officers located Suzy's white Ford Fiesta parked just under a mile from the original appointment address. The car raised immediate questions. The handbrake was off. The keys were missing. Her purse remained inside, untouched. Nothing appeared stolen. Nothing appeared broken. It suggested movement, not force. By midnight, investigators were no longer asking where Suzy was. They were asking how she had been taken without resistance and without witnesses in the middle of the day. By the following morning, Suzy Lamplugh was no longer treated as a missing person. She was treated as a suspected victim of serious crime. Detectives focused on one detail above all others: the name written in her diary. Mr. Kipper. No client by that name existed in Sturgis estate agents' records. No homeowner, no buyer, no inquiry. It was as if the name had appeared from nowhere. Police launched an urgent appeal. They asked anyone who knew Mr. Kipper connected to property viewings in Fulham to come forward. No one did. The case expanded rapidly. Hundreds of officers were assigned. Thousands of statements were taken. Posters bearing Suzy's face appeared across London. And yet, there were no ransom demands, no bank activity, no confirmed sightings, only silence. As weeks passed, investigators began re-examining violent offenders recently released from prison. That search produced a disturbing match: a man named John Cannan. Cannan was a convicted kidnapper and murderer. He had a history of targeting women. He used charm. He used deception. And he had been released from prison just weeks before Suzy vanished. Even more unsettling was a detail uncovered later. While in prison, John Cannan was allegedly known by a nickname: Kipper. Witnesses from Shorrolds Road were shown photographs years later. Several identified Cannan as resembling the man seen with Suzy: well-dressed, dark-haired, confident. One witness recalled the bottle of champagne. Cannan denied any involvement. There was no forensic evidence tying him directly to Suzy Lamplugh. No body, no crime scene, no confession. In 2002, Scotland Yard took a rare and extraordinary step. They publicly named John Cannan as the prime suspect, but they could not charge him. Over the years, searches were carried out across England. Woodland, military barracks, disused buildings, construction sites. Even the foundations of old houses were examined. Nothing was found. Not a fragment. Not a trace. In 1994, 8 years after she disappeared, Suzy Lamplugh was officially declared dead. She was 25 years old. her body has never been recovered. Suzy's mother, Diana Lamplugh, refused to let her daughter's story fade. Instead, she transformed grief into action. She founded the Suzy Lamplugh Trust, a charity dedicated to personal safety, particularly for women working alone. The trust reshaped workplace safety across the UK. Lone worker policies, check-in systems, risk awareness training. Changes that exist today because of what happened to Suzy. Diana Lamplugh passed away in 2011. She never learned the truth about her daughter's final moments. So what really happened on Shorrells Road? Did Suzy believe she was meeting a legitimate client? Did she recognize danger too late, or not at all? Was she targeted at random, or deliberately selected? And if John Cannan was the man she met that day, how did he convince her to walk away? Why was there no struggle? And where did she go? Nearly 4 decades later, the file remains open. The disappearance of Suzy Lamplugh changed how the world views everyday safety. It proved that danger does not always look dangerous. That routine can be deceptive, and that sometimes, even when everything is done right, tragedy still finds a way in. Suzy Lamplugh left her office expecting to return within an hour. She never did. And until the truth is known, her case remains unsolved. If you believe John Cannan was responsible, or if you think the truth lies elsewhere, share your theory in the comments. Was this case solved or not?